Can other long-distance companies offer you all AT&T can?
Wake up! Hey, wake up!
I say yes, oh yes. I say yes, oh yes. What you gonna do? I say audience, audience.
Can other long-distance companies offer you all AT&T can?
Wake up! Hey, wake up!
I say yes, oh yes. I say yes, oh yes. What you gonna do? I say audience, audience.
The mystery into whether or not we're alone in the universe has been a constant question for over 6 decades.
We've always heard eyewitness reports saying that they've seen UFOs or they've had close encounters with aliens and alien abductions.
Breaking news tonight about UFOs in America, which appear to be real. Straight ahead.
I think what's important is that we have identified some very, very interesting anomalous type of aircraft. Let's call them aircraft. Things that don't have any obvious flight surfaces, any obvious forms of propulsion, and maneuvering in ways that include extreme maneuverability beyond, I would submit, the healthy G-forces of a human or anything biological. Hypersonic velocities, low observability, positive lift, again, seemingly in defying the laws of aerodynamics.
Just the idea that we do have aliens, but that we need to tell the public in very small segmented ways so that it isn't a panic.
Oh, geez, that's great. Is the lighting halfway decent? Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now.
Hello out there everybody, Manny here at Area 503, and I hope that you all have been well since our last video. And I just want to say I'm a little sorry for the rough startup here with the live stream, but thank you all for joining me here today. And if you're catching this on the replay, thanks for coming by and catching it on the replay, even if you couldn't catch it live. I've got some interesting stuff to talk about today, and first of all, it's World UFO Day 2020, so happy World UFO Day, everybody. I hope it's a good one, and I hope that you're enjoying the nice weather and getting ready for the 4th of July, and today we're going to talk about everything UFO, so I hope you guys are down for a good show. This is my first live stream, so bear with me, but again, thank you for joining me. I think I've got the technical difficulties all hammered out, so everything should be running smooth for you guys. And let's take a look at my World UFO Day video that I posted for 2019 last year. It talks a little bit about the Roswell UFO case and some other prominent UFO cases. But first I want to give a shout out to all you people who have joined me here. I can see you guys talking in the chat, and I'm going to do my best to keep up with you, but it's a little hard for me to do both of those, to keep up on the chat and to live stream at the same time. So I'll do my best, and if you have anything that you want to talk about, go ahead and throw it out there in the chat, and I'll see if I can address it for you. Mr. Bubbles, hey, thanks for coming by, buddy. I'm glad to see you, man. And Jay Wade, good to see you too. Looks like Renee Cruz is in the chat, but I might have Renee blocked for some reason because I can't see their chat, so I might have to fix that at some point. Sorry, Renee. Not sure how that happened. On the topic of World UFO Day, I'm sad to announce that the McMinnville UFO Day Festival, that is an annual event here locally, was canceled this year due to the CV-19 crisis. I was a little bummed out about that. I wanted to go, but you know, I'll catch it next year, and that's just the way it goes. But if anybody's around up here next year when the UFO festival's going on in town and you want to go with me, just let me know. Let's take a look at that clip from my World UFO Day 2019 video.
July 2nd marks World UFO Day 2019. And let me be the first to wish you a happy UFO Day. All around the world, people in different countries and of different races and religions will celebrate the UFO phenomenon. But why on July 2nd? It's because most people believe that's the day that a UFO crashed outside of Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, kicking off a global interest in UFO phenomenon that lasts to this day. And so, in honor of UFO Day 2019, I would just like to talk with you all today about the Roswell UFO incident of 1947. I can think of no other single UFO incident that has influenced the UFO community like the Roswell UFO incident has. So what exactly happened? Let's try to find out.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
A local Roswell newspaper ran this article with the headline, Roswell Army Airfield Captures Flying Saucer on Ranch in Roswell Region. No details of the flying disc are revealed. The article states that the intelligence officer for the 509th Bombardment Group, Major Marcel, stated that the field had come into possession of a flying saucer after a local rancher reported the object on his property. Major Marcel recovered the disc along with a detail from his department. Now, believe it or not, this is about as far as we can go into the Roswell story and still have most everybody agree. Pretty much everyone accepts that something crashed in the Roswell desert and Marcel and his group went out to recover it. But from here, July 2nd marks World UFO Day 2009.
Yep, that's about as far as you can get in the Roswell story, with everyone agreeing that that's what happened. Something crashed and somebody went out and recovered something. Yeah, that's about it. Everything after that is pretty much speculation and a little bit of theory based on some form of fact, which I've talked about in that next video. This seems like a good chance to introduce you all to my associate producer. You can see him back here on the bed behind me. He's taking a little nap. Yep, that's Prince Dubois, also known as Doobie-Doo. He's the associate producer. He's my creative director. You know, sometimes he's my muse, also known as my cat. But he's just hanging out back there with us today. So, yeah, that's Doobie. If you see him, say hi and, you know, hang out with him. He's a good cat.
To further back up this theory, let's take a look at a Dateline piece from 1994 featuring a retired colonel named Philip Corso.
The UFO believers tell a story that goes something like this. Not only did an alien spaceship crash into this arroyo here in the desert, but the bodies of several, no one can agree on how many, extraterrestrials were pulled from the wreckage, driven across the desert to this Hangar 84, then loaded onto planes and flown east for secret autopsies. The bodies and the wreckage remain hidden, the deepest government secret in history. Among the believers is this man, Philip Corso, a highly decorated Army lieutenant colonel who until his retirement was a senior staff officer at the Pentagon. For 21 years privy to this nation's most sensitive secret. He has come forward now to say aliens crashed at Roswell. In his book, The Day After Roswell, he claims, in fact, that alien technology changed all.
To further back up this theory, let's take a look at a Dateline piece from 1994 featuring a retired colonel named Philip Corso.
The UFO believers tell us.
To further back up this...
Wow. Okay, I got a lot to learn about OBS apparently. I wanted to talk about Corso for a second. You know, like, he is a high-ranking colonel in the Army when he retired, and I think he's been around the block a little bit. He's probably seen a lot in his years, but he strikes me as one of those guys who's just putting himself in stories that he's heard other people tell. I mean, he claimed to have seen aliens at one point, or at least a body, in a casket, I think it was, and at another point he claimed that he was involved with the dissemination of alien technology to American industry. And I believe that someone might be exposed to one of these projects in their lifetime, but for this guy to have exposure to 3 or 4 different projects like this, it just doesn't seem very likely. And so I think he's just one of those guys that heard a bunch of stories over the years and kind of just wrote them down and put himself in it. Or maybe he actually believes it. I don't know. But he wrote a book called The Day After Roswell. He's been real active, I guess, or he was active. I'm not even sure if he's still alive, to be honest with you, but I just don't buy his story is what I'm saying. Like, he strikes me as one of those story guys, you know, and it's very, very interesting, but it's not credible. So just keep that in mind, you know. I want everything that Corso says to be true. I definitely want to believe that something crashed at Roswell, that there's been this technology that's been disseminated over the last, 80 years since then. But, let's find the evidence. Just because I want to believe a story doesn't mean I'm going to, say it's true unless I can back it up with something. So.
Little holes in the eyes. It looked different, and it was small.
It was dead?
Dead. It was flowing some sort of liquid.
Where did they go?
I don't know. I never got into that.
Corso says he never mentioned his close encounter with alien bodies when he was on General MacArthur's staff in the Korean War, or when he was military advisor to President Eisenhower, or even when he was a commander of a nuclear missile battalion in Germany during the Cold War.
You commanded nuclear warheads.
I had atomic warheads. This was not trivial stuff.
You're a colonel in the U.S. Army with access to the most secure secrets of the United States government.
I had all the clearances above top secret. I had the satellite clearance, eyes only at the White House. I had the crypto clearances. I had all those clearances. One time
And you believe in flying saucers?
I have to believe it.
And as we'll see, that glimpse of the aliens was only the start of Colonel Corso's involvement with the great Roswell alien cover-up. Corso says that in 1961 he was posted to the Pentagon to the Office of Foreign Technology with one of the most secret assignments in history, custody of the actual Roswell UFO wreckage. And the book says Corso was ordered by his superiors to share the alien secrets with military contractors.
We planted the seed, and then we'd see how the progress was going.
And those seeds, Corso claims to have sowed, yielded an operator's manual for the millennium, an incredible array of inventions, all, he says, reverse engineered by American corporations from alien technology.
Well, let's go through a list. Here's a very simple version of fiber optic. The first time you saw fiber optic?
It was in a little bundle.
In that flying saucer debris?
Yeah.
Stealth technology.
Some of it came from aliens.
Some of it came from aliens?
Some, yeah.
And this flew in the Gulf War?
Yes.
But perhaps the most important, these little Walkman radios, computers, everything that we have, the heart of it is one of these.
As far as I'm concerned, the most important thing that we did was integrated circuit.
You saw it the first time
Size of a quarter, black.
from the flying saucer
One was
debris.
charred. I had about 4 or 5 of them.
So all this technology came from aliens?
We called it applied engineering.
Applied engineering. Yeah, I bet you did, buddy. Yeah, the integrated circuit, Kevlar, some other just amazing patents that this guy claims that he helped leak to American industry. And you know, it would make sense. I mean, that jives with the expansion of technology, you know, after World War II. But, you know, just because something jives doesn't mean it's true. Let's see the proof. Where's this guy's documents? He was a colonel, you know, in the Armed Air Forces. He should have records, you know, at least stating that he was in these positions where he claims he was, but, you know, whatever. I guess it is what it is. It looks like the Art says, hey Art, how are you doing, buddy? He says, I'm with you on Corso. He's dead. His son is continuing. Oh, he's dead. I'm sorry. Of course, yeah, his son is continuing to sell books. Well, you know, that makes sense. I'm seeing that a lot now. I guess J. Allen Hynek's son is kind of taking up his mantle, and you're seeing these legacy people step into these roles, and it's like, you know, I get that their parents might have been great, you know, people in the ufology field, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's their passion, you know. But who knows? Let me give a shout out to some of you people who joined us a little late, or that I didn't see in chat actually, because it looks like my chat kind of dumped on me there. Philip Blair's here with us now. Captain Corrosive. Hey, KPT. Mario's here. Hey, buddy. How are you? Philip Blair, did I say you? Bubbles, of course. Dino. And Renee, I don't know how I blocked you, but I'll get that fixed somehow. I'll have to figure it out after the stream. Yeah, so here we are. It's World UFO Day, folks. We're talking everything UFOs. If you guys want to talk about something, throw it out there in the chat, and we'll talk about it. That's what I like to do, is get everybody together and have a good, healthy discussion about, you know, what we think, what we know, and what we speculate, you know. And I think if we get enough people talking about this stuff, then there's no way we can't figure it out, you know. Anything's possible. So don't be afraid to speak your mind. And yeah, happy World UFO Day, everybody. And again, thank you all for joining me here. Yeah, thank you for joining me. You know, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys, so stick around, otherwise it's gonna be pretty lonely for me.
40 or 50 years, they may very well have an old feel to them. In fact, one of the statements Bob made on the Joe Rogan interview was that he felt like this program would run for a few years and then be shut down once it reached a technology cap, to allow science and technology to catch up with the program, and then they would start it back up again for a few years. And it's quite likely that the UFOs that Bob worked on were not the actual Roswell UFO, but this does give some credibility to the theory that the American government did have advanced technology, as is evidenced by the almost magical advancements in the U.S. military hardware post-1947. We can only speculate about what happened at Roswell. The only people who know for sure are the U.S. government, and they're not talking. And when they do talk, they have zero credibility, as they've been caught in multiple lies. Remember that FBI teletype that we spoke about earlier? That document was the result of a 1993 investigation by Congressman Stephen Schiff, launched into the Roswell UFO incident on behalf of his constituent of the state of New Mexico. Congressman Schiff requested that the Pentagon provide him with all documentation related to the Roswell UFO incident. The way that I understand the story, the congressman was given the runaround by multiple government agencies being bounced from one archive office to another, all of them claiming to have no records pertaining to Roswell. Congressman Schiff accurately identified the brick wall he was running into, and so he approached the Government Accountability Office and asked for assistance. The GAO was able to get some answers out of the various agencies about Roswell. Let's take a look at what they came up with. In the first part of the report, the GAO outlines the Roswell UFO incident. They acknowledge that the debate continues as to what really happened at Roswell. The GAO then states, quote, "We conducted an extensive search for government records related to the crash near Roswell. We examined a wide range of classified and unclassified documents dating from July 1947 through the 1950s." End quote. Remember this part. It'll be important later. We then find out that in 1947, the Air Force required that air accidents report be maintained indefinitely. We also learned that there was no air accident report filed for the crash at Roswell, presumably because there was no requirement at the time to prepare a report on the crash of a weather balloon. Now this next part is extremely suspicious to me. Quote, "In our search for records concerning the Roswell crash, we learned that some government records covering Roswell Army airfield activities had been destroyed, while others had not. For example, RAAF administrative records from March 1945 through December 1949 and RAAF outgoing messages from October 1946 through December 1949 were destroyed. The document disposition form does not indicate what organization or person destroyed the records, or when or under what authority the records were destroyed." Now just let that sink in for a moment. The administrative...
Yeah, that's Roswell. So yeah, that's Roswell right there. You know, the government covered something up. And then they came out a couple of times and they were like, oh, it's a Project Mogul balloon. It's this other balloon. It's this, it's that, it's the other, you know. And I kind of treat them like I make a joke in the video there. I treat them like Chunk in the Goonies. You're like, yeah, okay. So Michael Jackson didn't come over to your house to use the bathroom, but his sister did. Whatever. You are so full of crap. Like, you've lied to us 3 times over the years, and the only thing that we know for sure is that you guys are lying. So either come fully clean and show us some real proof, or take your, mountains of evidence and stuff them. Oh, goodness. Mario asked in the chat what I make of the latest Stephen Greer documentary, CE3, Close Encounters 3. Was that one? Oh no, Unacknowledged 3. You know, I really liked Stephen Greer's story when it first came out. When he did Unacknowledged 1 and he talked about how Clinton was stonewalled when he was in office, and he tried to get information about UFOs and alien technology. He called in Stephen Greer, I guess, and that was a fascinating story to me. It seems like over the years he's kind of devolved into a disclosure for dollars kind of a personality, at least in my opinion, and his story becomes more fantastic and more watered down, so I tend to not really take into account too much that he said in the second and third films, or what he's said since then, but his original story is still very interesting to me, and speaks about the kind of cover-up of disclosure in, not just in our country, but probably around the world, in certain countries, the ones who have the knowledge and the technology. There's other cultures and countries where they disseminate that information when it comes out, but they don't, they might not have been in on the so-called conspiracy or whatever, so why wouldn't they? I don't know. His whole thing now, though, is, just to answer your question, how I feel about Stephen Greer now is that he's kind of in that disclosure for dollars category, where it's like you're going to go and watch what he has to say because it's Stephen Greer, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to, rattle the foundations of disclosure. Don't expect it to change anything, really. I mean, it's just going to be a good, entertaining watch, Yeah, KPT, I can't take credit for that term. I got that from Rich over at Goof on Radio, which, you know, if anybody knows me, they know that I like to hang out over there. Rich is a really cool guy, and you guys should check out his show sometime. I'm on there from time to time. But yeah, Rich came up with that term, disclosure for dollars, and it stuck with me because it's so true. There's a whole wave of it between the History Channel, between Facebook groups, you know, between... excuse me, between like the UK foreign media. You know, there's certain cultures where this has become a really big thing, and it's become disclosure for dollars. You know, you got to get them bucks.
Fort Riley, Kansas. He saw, he says, an extraordinary shipment headed for Washington from Roswell, which he described for us when we visited the Roswell UFO Museum and Research Center.
They were not caskets, but they were boxes let's say they were about 6 feet long, about 3 or 4 feet wide, and they were covered with tarps. So when I went in with the sergeant, and he picked up one corner of the tarp, and there's this body floating in some sort of liquid.
A body?
Yeah, a body. A complete body, not the head only. Complete body.
What kind of a body?
It was like that thing there.
You're serious?
Yeah, simple face, not much to it. Little holes in the eyes. It looked different, and it was small.
It was dead?
Dead. It was floating some sort of liquid.
Where did they go?
I don't know. I never got into that.
Corso says he never mentioned his close encounter with alien bodies when he was on General MacArthur's staff in the Korean War, or when he was military advisor to President Eisenhower, or even when he was a commander of a nuclear missile battalion in Germany during the Cold War.
You commanded nuclear warheads?
I had atomic warheads. You know, this was not trivial stuff.
You're a colonel in the U.S. Army with access to the most secure secrets of the United States government.
I had all the clearances above top secret. I had the satellite clearance, eyes only at the White House. I had the crypto clearances. I had all those clearances one time or other.
And you believe in flying saucers?
I have to believe it.
And as we'll see...
You see, that's what I'm talking about with Corso right there. He was way up there. He had eyes only at the White House. You know, he had crypto clearances. At one point, he was in charge of ICBMs. And the guy really was, he was in the know. And he probably did hear rumors and stories, but that doesn't make them true. Where's it? Just one document, Corso. One document's all you need, dude.
See how the progress was going.
And those seeds, Corso claims to have sowed, yielded an operator's manual for the millennium. An incredible array of inventions, all, he says, reverse engineered by American corporations from alien technology.
Well, let's go through a list. Here's a very simple version of fiber optic. The first time you saw fiber optic?
It was in a little bundle.
In that flying saucer debris?
Yeah.
Stealth technology.
Some of it came from aliens.
Some of it came from aliens?
Some, yeah.
And this flew in the Gulf War?
Yes.
But perhaps the most important, these little Walkman radios, computers, everything that we have, the heart of it is one of these.
As far as I'm concerned, the most important thing that we did was integrated circuit.
You saw it the first time?
Size of a quarter, black.
From the flying saucer
one
debris?
was charred. I have about 4 or 5 of them.
So all this technology came from aliens?
We called it applied engineering. What we meant by that was give this information to industry that wants it and encourage them to take credit for it and take the patents.
Well, but the aliens would love to have the patents.
Well,
maybe the aliens have lawyers.
I don't know.
So we talked to representatives of the companies cited in Colonel Corso's book. They hold the patents on things like Kevlar, fiber optics, lasers, night vision scopes, and integrated circuits. All items Corso maintains came from alien technology. It's a who's who of American industry. But Monsanto, DuPont, Hughes Aircraft, Bell Labs, and Dow Chemical all said they had never heard of Colonel Corso or the Roswell wreckage. Dow Chemical did expand its statement to say, quote, although we're not entirely certain, we strongly suspect that all of the men and women Dow scientists responsible for our inventions over the years hail from the planet Earth. And Bell Labs claimed that its technology, too, is, quote, grounded in the creativity and hard work of very talented Earthlings. Corso says the companies weren't supposed to know where their inventions came from. They were purposely misled. It was all part of the plan.
So the Colonel claims to have not only seen UFOs, but also alien bodies recovered from the Roswell wreckage and transported somewhere unknown for further study. Furthermore, the Colonel claims to have later been a part of a top-secret program to disseminate technology from the alien craft to leaders of American industry, who of course denied his story. The theory that an alien craft was recovered at Roswell is further supported by Bob Lazar's story. Bob has been a popular figure in the UFO culture lately, and I'm not going to talk about him too much here.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about Bob Lazar. You betcha. I love Bob's story, and it's held up over the years, so a lot of people out there, have poked holes in it because of his activities since, his alleged involvement with UFOs, and I get that. The guy hasn't walked a straight line since then. He's lived in Las Vegas for 20-something years or even longer, or near it, I guess. So he's probably had, his share of temptations, but his story is still awesome. Let's go back and hear a little bit more about Bob, and then we'll come back and talk about him.
They may very well have an old feel to them. In fact, one of the statements Bob made on the Joe Rogan interview was that he felt like this program would run for a few years and then be shut down once it reached a technology cap to allow science and technology to catch up with the program, and then they would start it back up again for a few years. And it's quite likely that the UFOs that Bob worked on were not the actual Roswell UFO, but this does give some credibility to the theory that the American government did have advanced technology, as is evidenced by the almost magical advancements in the U.S. military hardware post-1947. We can only speculate about what happened at Roswell. The only people who know for sure are the U.S. government, and they're not talking. And when they do talk, they have zero credibility, as they've been caught in multiple lies. Remember that FBI teletype that we spoke about earlier? That document was the result of a 1993 investigation by Congressman Stephen Schiff, launched into the Roswell UFO incident on behalf of his constituents, the residents of the state of New Mexico. Congressman Schiff requested that the Pentagon provide him with all documentation related to the Roswell UFO incident. The way that I understand the story, the congressman was given the runaround by multiple government agencies being bounced from one archive office to another, all of them claiming to have no records pertaining to Roswell. Congressman Schiff accurately identified the brick wall he was running into, and so he approached the Government Accountability Office and asked for assistance. The GAO was able to get some answers out of the various agencies about Roswell. What they came up with. In the first, the GAO outlines the Roswell UFO incident. They acknowledge that the debate continues as to what really happened at Roswell. The GAO then states, quote, "We conducted an extensive search for government records related to the crash near Roswell. We examined a wide range of classified and unclassified documents dating from July 1947 through the 1950s." End quote. Remember this part. It'll be important later.
Hi guys, so Tim made a good point in chat, and thanks for coming by, Tim. Tim and Bubbles are part of the Truth Troop, and they've supported the channel over on Patreon, so if you guys want to support the channel, you can hit the link that's down below and join us on Patreon. But thanks for coming by. And Tim said that Bob's been living in Michigan, it looks like, and yeah, that's right. You said about 10 or 15 years when he started that lab up there, atomic lab or whatever it is that he's doing now. He's been in Michigan. He did spend some time in Vegas, which is where he got into a lot of trouble. There was some issues with a missing wife, I think, or some suspicious death. And, you know, like he claimed that someone tried to kill him at one point, things like that. Like his life got pretty crazy there. But, you know, that's Bob for you, I guess. You know, he's obviously made some mistakes, but I still think his story's pretty dang credible. You know, like the things that he talked about, it all just kind of clicks true to me. You know, technology being shelved away for years until the industries can catch up to it. You know, that kind of strikes true. If, you know, if the American government did get some technology, whether it was from aliens or, you know, captured from a country that we conquered in war, who knows? If we got this technology, it would take time to disseminate it, and that might be how you do it. Yeah, Tim, he got raided a couple of times, and, you know, in the documentary that Jeremy Corbell made called Area 51 Flying Saucers and Jeremy Corbell featuring Bob Lazar, he spoke about that a little bit, and they showed one of those raids. That's not the real title, I'm just kidding. It was actually, I was making a joke about how Corbell just made a documentary and made himself a part of it so he could get on the disclosure for Dollar Circuit. But he did show one of the raids and talk about it. And the guy who Bob Lazar has working for him spoke about a culture at the FBI where he feels that, like, every few years, somebody at the FBI is like, hey, we got to go harass Bob Lazar, you know, like he popped back up somewhere. It's almost like you know, he's the cat that got away, which to me lends more credibility to his story. It's like they tried to retaliate against him and couldn't, and that just stymied them and made them more angry. But, you know, who knows? You know, he could be, he could have made some stuff up. I don't think so. I think he's legit. I guess only time will tell, because the technologies and the things that he was talking about are all coming true, you know? Yeah.
DOD and the FBI. It's easy to see why that kind of thing could just slip through the cracks and get filed away and forgotten. The second document was from the 509th History, which is essentially a log or diary kept for the unit. A brief section in this diary reads, quote, "The Office of Information was kept quite busy during the month, answering inquiries on the flying disc which was reported to be in possession of the 509th. The object turned out to be a radar tracking balloon." End quote. These...
Yeah, a radar tracking balloon, as if. That's what they called Project Mogul, and then they brought out some stuff that wasn't even Project Mogul, you know, like, but the GAO and Adam Schiff, they dug into it. And, you know, the surprising part was that somebody at the Pentagon went back to Congressman Schiff with two documents, you know. One was the FBI teletype, and the other was the copy of a memo. And those two documents are all that they claim to have on the Roswell incident. And I'm thinking, you know, this is garbage, you know. Somebody like Stan Friedman, he understood how you attack a subject like this. And, you know, you don't come at subjects like this head on. If you're going to file a Freedom of Information request, you don't file for Roswell aliens and UFOs. That's been done a million times. You don't even file for people like General Twinning. You file for people like Marcel and other people, support people, and you file for requests on transfer orders, communications, any of the weird stuff that might have slipped through the cracks, you know. You can't come at things like this head on and expect any form of resolution, because you won't find anything. All that stuff's destroyed, buried, and gone away. And the government really they don't take accountability for it. They just kind of go, oopsie, you know, nothing's there for Roswell, and we can't tell you who destroyed it or when. Sorry, you know. Hey, it looks like a couple of people have joined us here. Rick's Realms here. What's up, Rick? Good to see you, buddy. Big Cat, I don't know if I said hi to you yet. Good to have you around. I'm glad that all of you have joined me, and I just want to say thanks again to everybody who's come by. I appreciate your support, and I hope you're having fun. I'm having a good time streaming with you guys. I'm learning how to do everything on the OBS and how to stage everything up. And I have some technical limitations, but those should be gone soon. And things should maybe pick up a little bit then. So, yeah. Happy World UFO Day, everybody. I hope it's a good one.
Or liquid.
Where did they go?
I don't know. I never got into that.
After Schiff's repeated requests, the Pentagon finally released a close to 1,000-page document titled The Roswell Report: Fact versus Fiction in the New Mexico Desert. This is a massive report, and I have only scratched the surface of it. But from what I understand, the report basically says that the Roswell UFO incident was due to a crashed test balloon of the Project Mogul. Project Mogul was a top-secret government program designed to monitor the Soviet Union's atomic weapons testing program. In the report, they further discredit the UFO theory. There's even a sworn statement by Sheraton Cavett, who was stationed at the Roswell Army Airfield in 1947. In his statement, Cavett claims, quote, "I had occasion to accompany one of my subordinates, Master Sergeant Bill Rickett, Counterintelligence, and Major Jesse Marcel, intelligence officer of the 509th Bomb Group, to a ranch."
You see, that's kind of my point right there. That would be the guy who you'd want to get information on, Bill Rickett. A master sergeant who he claimed went out to the site of the Roswell crash with him. They could determine, you know, if Rickett was there, that would verify the story. If Rickett was still alive, which I don't think he is, he could actually corroborate the story. He could tell you what he saw, but you never really know. And one more thing about Bob Lazar, you know, Tim, you said something about his story being credible. Like you said, you've seen everything, and he doesn't strike you as a disclosure for dollars guy. And that's what I'm saying too. He's not. When Bob very first came out in the 80s on with George Knapp on the news there, he didn't have a reason to come out like that. You know, like he had no motivation other than protection. And, you know, in the 80s, there really wasn't disclosure for dollars like that. He was kind of ostracizing himself as a person, you know, outside of a certain little select, you know, kind of clique of people or group. You know, ufology and the obscures always had a subculture, and the internet just kind of brought people together, even before, you know, Google and all that, in news groups and things like that. But, you know, Bob's story over the years really held up. In Jeremy Corbell's film, there was one part that people talked about where they thought that it was a little strange because they had found this pin pad that was used in a secret facility. And, you know, Jeremy Corbell found it, and he's like, oh yeah, these were used in the facilities of the day. And everyone's thinking, oh, that's weird. Why didn't he know about it? It was used in the film War Games, this pin pad was. It was a hand security device that kind of took an x-ray of your hand. And the reason that those were used in War Games is because that scene that it was used at in War Games was actually filmed inside, I believe it was the Cheyenne Mountain NORAD complex. It was a legitimate NORAD facility because they wanted it to look authentic, and so it did. Hey, Gawker made it by. What's up, Gutter Gawker? The road less traveled is here. We got a lot of people joining us today, and again, thanks for coming by, everybody. You know, Mr. Bubbles said something earlier about media and disclosure, about alien life and things like that, and, you know, there's been a lot of different films from you know, the day that the Earth stood still, War of the Worlds. I mean, this has been going on for a long time, and not just in movies and television shows, Star Trek, Stargate, films like Star Wars, Close Encounters, Men in Black. I mean, you name it. Part of that is that this is a fascination for everybody, and so when writers like that get involved on a project, you know, they go into these collections of culture from these different things. In this case, it's ufology and the obscure. Let's say X-Files. You know, Chris Carter, you know, he probably went online and researched all these things back in the day when he started writing the X-Files, and that's where he got a lot of his ideas for, you know, these episodes were from urban myths and things like that. So in some way you've got art that's imitating life, and in other ways you have life that's imitating art, and it's kind of a catch-22. If there was some power that be that wanted to use media as some form of disclosure tool, we couldn't stop them, you know, and they could just hide it along with everything else, and they very well could be. You know, I tend to think that something like TTSA might be a front for something like that. We'll talk more about Tom DeLonge and TTSA later. It ain't going to be fun, at least not for Tom. But yeah, you know, disclosure could definitely be happening in the form of media. It could be happening in the form of fictional media. It could be happening in the form of news media. You know, I've got some segments I'm going to play later where, you know, UFOs are talked about in the news pretty regularly. So, you know, they're using every form that they can, and more people are becoming hip to the fact that this is something that is most likely an eventuality. You know, like, people need to realize if we're alone in the universe, it's a very, very statistic improbability. You know, just by the sheer number of planets out there, there should be some other life, and probably a lot closer than we think. Nathan, I don't know if I said hi to you there. I saw you in the chat. And again, thanks for coming by, everybody. After shit. Hey guys, today I want to share with you an amazing piece of UFO footage that I found. This footage was filmed by a military pilot using infrared tracking, and it appeared that the UFO actually entered the water at some point. Now, if you guys are thinking that I'm talking about the infamous Tic Tac UFO that TTSA or the Pentagon or whoever released, well, I wouldn't blame you. But I'm not talking about the Tic Tac UFO. I'm talking about the Aguadilla, Puerto Rico UFO incident of 2013. Now, some of you may have heard about this UFO incident, and some of you may not. But you know, for this being such an amazing UFO sighting, it seems that not many people talk about it. So what happened? Let's go back and take a look. It's April 25th, 2013. A pair of United States Customs and Border Patrol. Hey guys, today I want to share... Sorry about that. I restarted the Aguadilla piece again. I want to talk about that Aguadilla, Puerto Rico UFO though. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see the video. If you didn't, head on over and check it out when you're done here. But that is really, I think next to the Tic Tac, that's one of those the most credible UFO sightings that we have in a long time. And unlike the Tic Tac UFO, we actually get footage of this thing diving down into the water, you know, without leaving a ripple or a wake of any kind, which is so bizarre to me because that really does defy the laws of physics. You shouldn't be able to do that unless it's some form of pure energy. If there's mass to this object, it should have a wake and make a splash, but it just doesn't. And then when it comes up out of the water, it looks like it splits into two objects, and that just blows my mind. Tim, I don't know about somebody else getting killed. I'd have to look on Google and check that out. But there is a long history of people in, you know, suspicious or fringe, you know, fields like this getting killed. I don't know why anyone would want to kill Stan Friedman. Everything that he did was on the up and up. It was illegal. He filed for FOA, Freedom of Information Act. You know, he did FOA requests. Everything that he found was in the Library of Congress. It was public record, so killing him really wouldn't seem like it'd be advantageous. You know, but you never know. Maybe he had something that he was about to release that, you know, people didn't want out. That's always a possibility. It's just pure speculation because we don't know at that point. There's no evidence, but I do seem to recall in the news, at least, they were reporting that he died of a heart attack. Stan Friedman. You know, which is at his age is probably believable, but you know, who knows? Technician that was on board the Dash 8 with him, who began imaging with the infrared systems. This is what they filmed. Here we see this UFO in the thermal imaging systems. Hotter objects are dark in this view, so you can clearly see the definition of the UFO, and that it's hotter than the surrounding areas. This little guy is being extremely difficult for this technician to track, but he does a great job. Here, when he switches camera modes, he gets ahead of the thing a little bit. There it is. Check that baby out. It's just cooking right along. One estimate places the speed of the UFO at about 100 miles per hour. Whew! What is this thing doing out there? It just popped up out of the ocean and is circling over this small coastal town, just checking things out? That's crazy. Look at the way this thing is flying. It certainly moves like a piloted object, as if it's reacting to light changes in the wind and disturbances, and it's adjusting its trajectory to maintain a course. That suggests to me that an intelligence, either artificial or biological, is operating this object. I want to point something out right here. This strip of dark color is the Rafael Hernandez International Airport. This UFO was being tracked visually by the control tower at the airport. The tower delayed the takeoff of a FedEx plane due to the obstruction of the UFO. That tells you how significant this was. The tower believed that this UFO was enough of a threat that it delayed the takeoff of a FedEx plane by 15 minutes until the threat was gone. And so I don't think that this sighting can be attributed to any form of sensor malfunction because the pilot and the tower all saw it visibly.
Yes, not only did the pilot and the tower see this UFO in Aguadilla, but it was spotted on some ground-based radar as well intermittently. And that adds credibility to the fact that this thing was not a sensor glitch. It wasn't a trick of light. There was something there, something physical, because otherwise the radar wouldn't ping off of it.
Okay, check this out. The UFO was passing behind the trees before, but here it's passing in front of the trees. So that means that this UFO is most likely at an altitude of about 30 to 50 feet, I would guess. I mean, it is possible that the UFO is above the tree, but since the CBP pilot is only at about 2,200 feet at this point, I think we can safely rule that out. So, here we got this UFO, and it's flying right overhead of all of these witnesses at about 100 miles per hour. Crazy, right? And there he goes, just zipping along over all these houses and all these witnesses without a care in the world. Boom, behind another tree. And another. What the hell is this thing doing over all those people? I mean, it could be doing anything from simple observation to exposing the population to a virus or some strange radiation. I mean, that's truly just speculation. There's nothing to indicate that anything's going on here. But you gotta admit that if this UFO wanted to pull something like that, they pretty much could, and no one could stop it. Nor would anyone even likely notice. I mean, the only reason that we got footage of this event is because the CBP pilot happened to be there. Otherwise, this would have just been a visual contact that had disappeared, and it would have been written away in a log file, and no one would have given it a second thought.
So yeah, nobody would have saw that thing. It came all the way up out of the water, it buzzed around the airport, came back around to the water, and, you know, this really isn't... It shouldn't be surprising, but it is. To me, we have so much technology that it shocks me that anything like that could get anywhere close to an airport without everybody knowing about it. But I guess that shows how quickly it takes, or how much time it takes to respond to these things. You know, it takes 10 to 15 minutes for an air traffic controller to determine that something's actually wrong and to scramble people and get them up in the air. And it takes those people time to get there. So it's not an instantaneous response, and that's kind of troublesome.
It doesn't slow down, it doesn't create a splash, and it leaves no wake behind it, seemingly defying the laws of physics. The only thing that I could think of that would enter water and not appear to be slowed down or leave a wake or splash would be some form of energy device or energy being, or some form of pure energy.
Pure energy. Matter without form. Impossible.
Check out how this thing is flying, like it doesn't care if anyone sees it. Wow, now there's two of them? Did that other one join up with this one, or did the original UFO split into two? Let's take another look at that part. Here, the UFO enters the water, and like I said before, it doesn't seem to leave any form of wake or splash. And as it slowly reemerges, it appears to spiral just a little bit, right before it splits into two UFOs. Take a look at that. But I think that this is just a trick of perspective, because this movement appears to be caused from the camera operator who is moving the camera to keep the UFO in frame. Let me see if I can stabilize the movement. Here it looks like the UFO is flying in a straight line, but it looks like it dips into the water, and as it reemerges, it splits into two UFOs. Wow, I really have no explanation for that. I've seen other credible footage of UFOs that appear to be man-made, most likely top-secret military projects. And up until this point, this sighting had all of the earmarks of one of those projects. But I'm truly at a loss to explain how any man-made object could dive into the water and not leave a wake, and then resurface and split into two. That sort of behavior is simply out. Nathan makes a good point there. Over water, that could be a reflection. And if you look at the SCU report, they actually did some in-depth frame analysis of the frames when the thing hit the water to show that it wasn't a reflection. There was actually a second object there. It's kind of interesting how they were able to do it, and it's very technical. It took them about 20 pages in the document to explain how they came to that conclusion. But it does prove that there was a second object there, and that is what makes this thing even more crazy. You know, you've got it splitting into two, it dives into water, you know, it's just, it's so crazy to me. And what's even more crazy is that the original CPP pilot went and reported this to his superiors and filed a UFO report. And according to the statement, nobody was interested in investigating it. They pretty much just mothballed it. So the CPP pilot leaked it to the SCU, who would then investigate it and release the video. Kind of interesting. Why didn't they want to investigate? Why were they so interested in hushing this up? I mean, if I was one of those citizens, I'd be scared as heck. I'd want to know what was flying over the city and what it was doing. You know? UFO incident of 2013. I'll link to the full report in the video description below so that you can read it for yourselves. This detailed report is full of information about the sighting, but I just want to read the conclusion for you. In the end, they stated, quote, "The object witnessed by CBP and tower personnel and recorded on the CBP DHC-8 aircraft's thermal imaging system is of unknown origin. There is no explanation for an object capable of traveling underwater at over 90 miles per hour with minimal impact as it enters the water, through the air at 120 miles per hour, at low altitude through a residential area without navigational lights, and finally to be capable of splitting into two separate objects. No bird, balloon, no aircraft, and no known drones have that capability." End quote. And I gotta tell you guys, I agree with the SCU conclusion here. I don't think that there is any way that this is some kind of known man-made technology. You know, I really felt like the Aguadilla sighting was some sort of military drone until it dove into the water and it didn't leave a wake and split into two. And as soon as I saw that, I was just shocked because I've never seen anything like that. I've seen tons of things that look like drones that are flying around, little white things that are flying around at 80 miles, 100 miles an hour, bobbing in and out of trees. They're extremely agile. I've seen plenty of those, but for it to split and dive into the water like that, I've never seen that. It's truly unique, and this happened back in 2013, and it was released, I think, maybe late 2013, maybe 2014. But again, it was just kind of not talked about, and nobody really knows about it. And yeah, Tim, I think if a UFO was following the physics that Bob Lazar have described, where they kind of, bend space-time around the ship and then they roll forward, that would explain, you might not see a wake, but I would think that you still would. It would almost just look like an invisible object pushing through the water. I'm not sure. It's hard to say when you're talking about technologies like that, because we have no point of reference to base it on. And that kind of reminds me of something I saw the other day when I was just looking around old documents and stuff, and I found an article from 1967 where a scientist was talking about the future of gravitational technologies, and they were using terms like in the very near future, things like that, and it seemed like there was almost a popular form of science that was being studied back then that may have gotten mothballed somewhere, and I'm going to do some more digging into that to see what that story is, what this paper was, why this scientist seemed to think that in the future gravitational technology would be would be surfacing and would be usable. But that does kind of go back to the whole story of, has alien technology been being distributed for years? That kind of jives with Colonel Corso's story. It goes to Bob Lazar's story, and it speaks to the technology boom that we've had all around the world in the last 80 years. And thanks again, everybody, for joining me here today. This is the first live stream, so I appreciate y'all bearing with me. I had some technical difficulties at the beginning, but I think I got them all ironed out, and it seems like we're having a good time. Everything's playing smooth. What'd you guys think of that opening bit? It was kind of funny, right? Well, maybe I'll play it again for you. Just because I want to see it again.
Can other long-distance companies offer you all AT&T can?
Wake up! Hey, wake up!
I say yes, yes. I say yes. What you gonna do? I say audience, audience.
The mystery into whether or not we're alone in the universe has been a constant question for over 6 decades.
We've always heard eyewitness reports saying that they've seen UFOs or they've had close encounters with aliens and alien abductions.
Breaking news tonight about UFOs in America, which appear to be real. Straight ahead.
I think what's important is that we have identified some very, very interesting anomalous type of aircraft. Let's call them aircraft. Things that don't have any obvious flight surfaces, any obvious forms of propulsion, and maneuvering in ways that include extreme maneuverability beyond, I would submit, the healthy G-forces of a human or anything biological. Hypersonic velocities, low observability, positive lift, again, seemingly in defying the laws of aerodynamics.
Just the idea that we do have aliens, but that we need to tell the public in very small segmented ways so that it isn't a panic.
Oh, geez, that's great. Is the lighting halfway decent? Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Glad you made it by, Mario, KPT, Corrosive, everybody who's here. Thanks for joining me on World UFO Day 2020, the first official Area 503. It's the first official 503 live stream, and I'm so happy to have you guys here. I hope you're having fun. Like I said, I know that I am. We're talking about all things alien. We've talked about Roswell. We've talked about Corso. We've talked about Bob Lazar, Stan Friedman. What else you guys want to talk about? We'll be moving on to TTSA and some of the newer stuff here, Tic Tac UFO, and we'll see what you guys think about some of the more recent developments in ufology. To the Stars Academy, where Tom DeLonge is going to fabricate a spaceship that will navigate water, air, and space by engineering the fabric of space-time. Wow. Seriously, like, I want to start a company that says, I'm going to fly, and I'm going to do this by bending the magnetic field of the Earth to my same magnetic frequency and levitate myself. Give me money to study it. Tom DeLonge, man. I don't even know where to begin with that guy. I know he's been a fan of some strange topics for a long time. I just recently saw a documentary that was done behind the scenes during one of his tours in the early 2000s, and he says really cool things like, I believe in unicorns and other stuff, but yeah, I just don't know. I don't get it. I remember reading about him in a WikiLeaks stump that was from the Hillary Clinton Podesta emails, and in the emails it seemed like he was soliciting Podesta. He probably thought that Hillary was going to win the election, and he was trying to get some sort of an in for a UFO disclosure routine. He was trying pretty hard. It doesn't surprise me that he was probably trying the other side as well, which is why he's where he's at now, but I don't really know what's going on with TTSA. I tend to think that, one, DeLonge is in it to bury the $400,000 in debt that he put into the company or so, before he started it. That's always a good motivation for someone, pass a lot of your personal debt onto a company and then sell the company in stock to people. Good one. But it makes me wonder, what are they doing with the rest of this money that they're getting? Are they actually researching technologies? And where are they getting the basis to research this from? Lou Elizondo got a couple of, videos authorized through the Pentagon, but after, he released them and put TTSA all over them, I doubt they're going to be giving him any more. So they kind of pumped that well dry. How long is he going to ride those videos out? And how long is DeLonge going to be able to ride on the coattails of what he got? Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't spend a single penny on his stock, to be honest with you. I mentioned it in a video, and UFO Seekers did a really good piece on it where he broke down the corporate structure and looked at the different debt of the companies and who was involved in them, and it was pretty revealing. Once you see it all laid out, it pretty much tells you what's going on there. The guy's in it for the money, honey. Woo. And it's funny because if you look up TTSA on Google Earth and go check out the shop front, it's a little teeny rinky-dink. It's on the back of a coffee shop. It's got, seating outside for 4 people or something. It's not a legit headquarters of anything. It looks like just a way to get somebody to pay for a clubhouse for you to hang out in, which is really what the shop is a clubhouse for him to hang out in, I don't think he's doing anything for ufology. I don't think he's moving the discussion forward. I think every time he has something to say, it's, oh, I wish I could tell you what I know. Well, then tell us, dude. What the hell? I mean, do you even have top secret clearance? And if not, then everything you can tell us. I mean, what's the deal? Just tell us. Oh, I can't tell you what I know. Yeah, BS, man. That's just your way of... That's what pilots and other people say when they get called on a story where they can't give too many details, or they don't want to give details because they don't have them. Because it's BS. Just like Tom DeLonge. BS. Disclosure of $4. Bum, 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 bum. I imagine the royalties from Blink-182 are probably not doing that well, so he may need to have another revenue stream to support his lavish lifestyle. I don't know. Anyways, you know, how he got all these other people involved, that's why I think that, you know, he might just be part of a front. I think people might be using him, you know. Chris Mellon's involved in there. You know, he's got Lou Elizondo. He's got some pretty big names involved in TTSA, and it almost feels like somebody put that together for him, because I just can't understand how these other people would have all come together otherwise. I'm definitely keeping an eye on TTSA and everything, but, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if they're just a part of the propaganda machine. For $300, you get to the next level, says the road less traveled. That's right. You got it. You know, like there's different tiers, you know, like you go from, you know, having like a little Twitter feed or something, and you move on to different tiers. And before you know it, you know, History Channel's banging down the door and they're like, sign our contract, you know. I don't know, man. You know, I guess capitalism and greed are just going to corrupt everything. And if people can make $1 off of it, they're going to. But, you know, there are people who are in this for the disclosure. There are people who really care about this subject, like myself. And those people are always going to do it, whether they're making money off it or not, you know. Is it nice to get a few dollars for your time and effort? Sure. Does it free you up to spend more time on it? Sure. But, you know, nobody, if you're getting into any field just to do it to get rich, you know, why not just go be a doctor or something? It makes more money and it's a lot more stable. You know, like, I don't get it, but everyone's in it for themselves. And Tom DeLonge, that boy in it for the money. Show me the money.
Out front next, extraterrestrials among us. The secret U.S. government effort to hunt for UFOs exposed. And tonight out front, the man who led the classified program. Let's go out front. Unidentified flying objects and extraterrestrials. The secret Pentagon program is a secret no more. And the man who headed that effort to find them is out front. Tens of millions of dollars spent on investigating UFOs. Well, this is for real. And the man who headed the top secret government program is going to tell you all about it. He is my guest. New tonight, the Pentagon's secret search for UFOs. For the first time, the Defense Department acknowledging a mysterious program dedicated to investigating UFO sightings. Now, this started more than a decade ago. $22 million price tag was secretly funded using so-called black money. The agency investigating possible alien encounters like this one. This is taken by U.S. Navy fighter jet. It's an unknown object about the size of a commercial jet, apparently hovering about 50 feet above the water. The pilot on board that jet saying as he flew closer, the object peeled away, accelerating like nothing he's ever seen. Again, that was a U.S. Navy fighter jet and pilot's point of view. Out front now, the former Pentagon military official who ran the covert government program up until this last November, Luis Elizondo. Luis, thank you so much for your time tonight. I mean, first, tell us what the purpose of the program was and why it was so secretive.
Sure. The purpose of the program, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, was really designed to do just that. From a national security perspective, identify those things that we see, whether we see them electro-optically, we see them with radar, we see them as eyewitness reports, through a myriad of different ways and avenues that we receive the information, and try to ascertain and determine if that information is a potential threat to national security, in a nutshell.
So what did you find?
Well, we found a lot. I think it's probably been a little bit mischaracterized in some of the social media you see and what people put out, because a lot of times when we don't have a lot of information, we tend to fill in those gaps with what we think is logical. And there's still, by the way, a lot we really don't know. I think what's important is that we have identified some very, very interesting, anomalous type of aircraft. Let's call them aircraft. Things that don't have any obvious flight surfaces, any obvious forms of propulsion, and maneuvering in ways that include extreme maneuverability beyond, I would submit, the healthy G-forces of a human or anything biological, hypersonic velocities, low observability, positive lift, again, seemingly in defying the laws of aerodynamics. So people
so do
are
you
talking.
think, I mean, I know, but do you believe, when you get that Navy pilot saying what he said, do you think that that was, a UFO? To obviously, I don't have any other word to use, or that, or something else?
Sure, that's a great question. Keeping in mind, it's not just the pilot's testimony on an observation. Sure, when someone comes to you who's in charge of a multi-million-dollar weapon platform, who maintains a top-secret security clearance, who is paid and trusted by this country to go fight wars and to fly over cities with live munitions, and by the way, they're trained observers with millions of dollars invested in their training,
yep.
I would submit to you it's pretty...
Nathan, you busted Mr. Elizondo right there. That guy talks right out of his ass. Everything that he says is complete and utter smoke. That guy, I'm telling you, he is a misinformation agent. He is a counterintelligence agent, and he's used to BSing people to get money. He's used to BSing people to get what he wants. That guy is a paid liar and a trained liar, and you can't trust him as far as you can throw him, and he is a big boy. He ain't going very far. So, there you go.
Out front next, extraterrestrials among us. The secret U.S. government effort to hunt for UFOs exposed, and tonight out front next, extraterrestrials among us. The secret U.S. government effort to hunt for UFOs exposed, and tonight out front, the man who led the classified program. Let's go out front. Unidentified flying objects and extraterrestrials. The secret Pentagon program is a secret no more.
Well, I accidentally restarted that clip, so I guess I'll just kind of talk over the first part that we already heard. But yeah, there's Elizondo for you, doing what he does best, which is just talking smug, dancing around people's questions, dancing around and giving them non-answers. This is what a misinformation agent does. There's one clip that I have where he says, somebody asks him, they're like, why should we trust you? You're a paid liar. And he's like, yeah, but I was trained to lie to the enemy. You're not my enemy. And the way that he said it and smirked just gave me a shiver down my spine. And I thought, dude, if you're part of some scam or you're part of a misinformation plot, then you might view us all as the enemy. We are the population, and you might view us as the enemy. See that smug smirk right there? That's what I'm talking about. I just don't like this guy, man. I really don't like him. My BS detector's going clank, 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 clank.
Really designed to do just that. From a national security perspective, identify those things that we see, whether we see them electro-optically, we see them with radar, we see them as eyewitness reports, through a myriad of different ways and avenues that we receive the information, and try to ascertain and determine if that information is a potential threat to national security, in a nutshell.
So what did you find?
Well, we found a lot. I think it's probably been a little bit mischaracterized in some of the social media you see and what people put out, because a lot of times when we don't have a lot of information, we tend to fill in those gaps with what we think is logical. And there's still, by the way, a lot we really don't know. I think what's important is that we have identified some very, very interesting, anomalous type of aircraft. Let's call them aircraft. Things that don't have any obvious flight surfaces, any obvious forms of propulsion, and maneuvering in ways that include extreme maneuverability beyond, I would submit, the healthy G-forces of a human or anything biological, hyper velocities, low observability, positive lift, again, seemingly in defying the laws of aerodynamics. So people are talking. So do you think?
I mean, I know, but do you believe when?
Okay, I think I might be back. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, it seems like the OBS is great, but I'm learning the technical limitations. Okay, well, let's see if this works. Did I drop everybody from the stream? I don't know what happened there. It's OBS, it's my computer, it's YouTube, I don't know. It seemed like I had a good chat going there, and now everybody's gone. So I guess it kicked everybody off. Okay, maybe it's just my connection. If you guys are still here, cool. Sorry about that. Like I said, I'm learning the technical limitations, and I have some severe limitations, but I'm getting better hardware soon, and when I do, you guys can expect a better stream. You see what I mean about my cat, though? He's still just back here, just napping away. Here I am, hard at work, and trying to entertain you guys, and he is just soaking up all the glory. And you guys see Mr. Bubbles there in chat. Him and his wife have actually started a GoFundMe for cat rescue. So talk to him about that, and you know, if you guys got a few bucks you can toss his way, then cool. I'm going to throw him a few bucks here tonight, and you know, it's for a good cause. Everybody loves cats. I know I do. So yeah, Bubbles, if you're around, tell them what you want to, you know, what you can about your cat adoption that you're doing and all that. And yeah, get a link out there. I'm going to try to play this video one more time. Hopefully it plays and it doesn't shut us down.
Any obvious forms of propulsion and maneuvering in ways that include extreme maneuverability beyond, I would submit, the healthy G-forces of a human or anything biological, hypersonic velocities, low observability, positive lift, again, seemingly in defying the laws of aerodynamics. So people are talking. So do you think, I mean, you know, I know, but do you believe, you know, when you get that Navy pilot saying what he said, do you think that that was, you know, a UFO? To obviously, I don't have any other word to use, or that, or something else? Sure, that's a great question. Keeping in mind, it's not just the pilot's testimony on an observation. Sure, when someone comes to you who's in charge of a multi-million-dollar weapon platform, who maintains a top-secret security clearance, who is paid and trusted by this country to go fight wars and to fly over cities with live munitions. And by the way, they're trained observers with millions of dollars invested in their training. Yep. I would submit to you it's pretty compelling. But on top of that, it's not just the eyewitness testimony. It is actual electro-optical data and radar returns. It's also people like radar operators and air traffic controllers. So I think the discussion should be maybe a little bit broader than that. I think people are focusing just on 2 videos coming from a set of F-18s when...
Out front next, an extraterrestrial.
You see, that's what I mean about Elizondo. He just double talks around everything, and he expects people to just take him at his word. And then he's like, "Oh, I can't tell you that. I got an NDA." You know, well, at least he does have an NDA. You know, DeLong and some of those other people might also have one, but an NDA is a civil thing. You know, unless it's a top secret NDA, which then has criminal liabilities attached to it. But you know, I just don't trust Elizondo. I think he's in this for the money. I want to show you guys this clip from my last UFO sightings video, and it features that big orb UFO over Japan, but it also touches base on a UFO that I reported maybe 6 months ago that was a real strange one. So let's take a look at it. car when she turned to her husband and proclaimed, "Look what I found, dear." Suddenly, a massive explosion occurred. Today, I got some interesting UFO sightings to show you guys, and I got some pretty cool recent UFO news. The first piece that I'd like to talk to you all about today was a recent sighting that occurred over western Washington of a strange UFO. Check this thing out. Whoa, what is that? It's kind of strange looking, don't you think? It looks like it's some sort of energy. But you know, with that purplish tint, it could be an infrared light that's being detected on the camera. And it looks like this thing is just bouncing around a little bit, or maybe even hovering there. It's really difficult to determine. It kind of looks like there's a beam shooting out of here, like it's scanning for something. So what I determined after I made this video, I actually found a picture of a forward-looking infrared system that was mounted on a helicopter under the bottom side of the nose. And I really think that's what these sightings are, is the beam of some sort of infrared that's being shot out of a drone or a helicopter. But you just don't see the helicopter because it's late at night, it's dark, but you do see the infrared beam. And this sighting bothered me for months until I figured it out. Just like the drone LED sighting, you know, nothing bothers me more than when I see something and I look at it and I say, gosh, that looks like it's something man-made, but I don't know what it is, you know, and that bothers me because in this day and age with Google image search and things like that, you should be able to just about find anything. So I'm always stunned when I can't. The same color. I don't think it's a stretch to assume that these are both the same object, but what is it? I said earlier that I believe that this was something man-made, and I still do, but I just can't identify it, and the only reason I'm saying that is because of how this object is moving and how this light appears. But I could be completely wrong about that. This could totally be something alien. I just don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below if you think you know what this is, and maybe we can figure it out together. For now, let's go ahead and move along to our next sighting, which took place over the skies of Japan. People spotted a strange white UFO floating above them in the skies. When the cameras were brought out to film and get a good zoom on this thing, it became apparent that this was some sort of balloon. And it appeared to have some sort of a structure dangling from the bottom of it. I know what you all are thinking, and it's what I thought when I first saw this. This has got to be some kind of weather balloon, right? Yep, totally a weather balloon, right? But what kind of balloon? I mean, it's not really a weather balloon because there's no, like, meteorological instrumentation on the bottom. That would be a weather balloon. Whatever this was, it was designed to carry something, and as you can see right there, whatever was on there isn't any longer. Did it fall off? Was it deployed? I don't know, but even the Japanese Meteorological Service, they said it wasn't theirs. So who knows? I mean, I said in the video, this could have had canisters to deploy a gas or, you know, a virus or something, but that's just speculation. You don't know because there's no indication of anything coming off of it. But it does kind of look like whatever was there isn't there any longer. So what was on there? You know, was there, like I said, a canister on the bottom? Was there some form of equipment that, you know, fell off? Is it just a derelict balloon? Who knows? But, you know, like I said, if I was someone in Japan, I would want to know what that was, and I wouldn't take no for an answer. I would keep pestering somebody until they showed us what this thing was. Balloon that had explosive ordnance. And there was even plans at one point to attach canisters of anthrax to these things and have it disperse over the United States. Yuck. Nasty. And if you think that a balloon from Japan stands no chance of making it to the United States, take a look at this article dated May 5th, 1945. Japanese balloon bomb kills 6 in Oregon. That's right, one of these Fugo bombs made it all the way to Klamath Falls, Oregon. A local Sunday school teacher, her husband, and 5 students were all out for a drive when the teacher became ill. Her husband pulled over and the teacher took a little walk with the students while he remained at the car and spoke to some local road crew workers. The teacher and the students were about 100 yards away from the car when she turned to her husband and proclaimed, "Look what I found, dear." Suddenly a massive explosion occurred and the teacher and all 5 students were killed. What? That's terrible. Oh my God. And so the only United States casualties on U.S. soil during World War II were these 5 Sunday school students and their poor teacher that were on their way to a picnic. That's tragic. Like I said before, the folks over in Japan have a reason to be concerned by this because that balloon could have been dropped by anyone and could be carrying anything. Yeah, the road less traveled. You are totally right about that. Infrared light does show up on a camera. See, like this one. I don't know if you could see that, but I did illustrate that in my 10 tips to take better UFO footage video that I did. I showed how a guy was inside of a window using a phone to record what he thought was a UFO, but it was really just a reflection of the laser rangefinder on his phone on the inside of the glass, and he couldn't see it with the naked eye, but again, so sorry guys. I don't know why I keep dropping packets, but I'm losing it here, so I might just have to wrap it up. I think I just keep getting dropped, guys. I'm going to do my best to get through the rest of this and wrap it up. I hope you guys are having a good time. Again, thank you all for joining me here today. I appreciate every single one of you who watches my videos and who has shown up to support the channel here. You guys are all amazing, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, so thank you. I'd like to say thanks again to the Truth Troop. That's Mr. and Mrs. Bubbles and Tim. Thank you guys for supporting the channel over on Patreon. I really appreciate your help. It makes the world a difference to me. And I appreciate all of you for coming by, like I said, and watching the videos. Your support with views and word of mouth is what keeps this channel going. So let's get the word out there and let people know about Area 503. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up since the stream seems to be having some troubles now. But I'd like to see you all again, and hopefully next time it will be a much smoother process. And thanks for coming by, thanks for having patience, and happy World UFO Day 2020, everybody. Get out there and have some fun, and a happy 4th of July for those in the States. It's going to be a nice one, so enjoy it. Alright guys, I'm out of here. It's been fun. I'll catch y'all next time. Bye!
As always, this has been Manny at Area 503. And I wish you all the best until we meet again. And I am out of here to continue my search for universal truth.
Can other long-distance companies offer you all AT&T can?
Wake up! Hey, wake up!
I say yes, yes. I say yes. What you gonna do? I say audience, audience.
The mystery into whether or not we're alone in the universe has been a constant question for over 6 decades.
We've always heard eyewitness reports saying that they've seen UFOs or they've had close encounters with aliens and alien abductions.
Story breaking news tonight about UFOs in America, which appear to be real. Straight ahead.
I think what's important is that we have identified some very, very interesting anomalous type of aircraft. Let's call them aircraft. Things that don't have any obvious flight surfaces, any obvious forms of propulsion, and maneuvering in ways that include extreme maneuverability beyond, I would submit, the healthy G-forces of a human or anything biological. Hypersonic velocities, low observability, positive lift, again, seemingly in defying the laws of aerodynamics.
Just the idea that we do have aliens, but that we need to tell the public in very small segmented ways so that it isn't a panic.
Oh, geez, that's great. Is the lighting halfway decent? Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now.